That's
Sir!
sorry.
Alright.
I was looking at something. My bad.
So, this is Big D and Shade from TacoYaki Anime.
Yo.
And we are back with another edition of Wesley Ketchup. Today we will be talking about our final thoughts for the winter season of 2018.
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
And the only thing I am disappointed in is not seeing Seven Deadly Sins. Though, apparently, I just looked that up.
Uh-huh.
And apparently, someone was saying that it's supposed to be on Netflix.
Oh, no.
Yeah, though it would be a delayed release, so it wouldn't actually come out till like February or so, or late February, on Netflix.
Yeah, if Netflix... My webpage is being weird. Yeah, if Netflix gets the show, it's gonna be delayed until after the whole thing comes out, and then they finish producing all the episodes, and then they'll release it all in one pack.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be streamable. It's just it won't be streamable at a time where we can talk about it.
Yeah, which sucks. I am gonna watch it next season. Then, dang it.
Yeah, same thing about Violet Evergarden and also Children of the Whales. Those were two shows that I really wanted to watch, and maybe we'll try to fit those in. Just to like call it the Netflix graveyard.
Yeah. All right, well, just thought to pop that in there because we were talking about it right before the stream started, and I was like, hey, I found out what they were talking about. So.
Cool. All right, today we have 8 shows to talk about, and the first show we're going to be talking about is Black Clover.
Black Clover. Now, I have such a love-hate relationship with this anime. I really, really do. It is interesting and entertaining, and the main character he goes from cool to grating on my nerves in like 0.0 seconds. But I know, I mean, I think I remember hearing you say something about you just can't do it with him on that, or you've tried and you're just like, nope.
Well, it's one of the things where it's like my time is very, very like hard to find, and my lasting impression for that show is like I don't like the main guy. Like I don't like his brother right now. Oh, what?
Yelling, screaming main character.
Yeah, yelling, screaming main character is my takeaway from it, and then the other part is I don't like his brother, and the world's kind of cool. But,
yeah. So at this point in the series, they have opened things up a bit more. You're seeing more of the world and what it entails. So there is other kingdoms around the area who have their own mages who they're battling against. They're coveting magical items and resources and all this. Apparently there are dungeons that can randomly appear, and whenever they do, people want to immediately go out there and conquer the dungeon to see what resources and other magical items they can get. And it's weird. It's just the way they kind of approach things, because it's all very, I don't know, it's very structured and at the same time it's very chaotic. So it's kind of just right now, I think in the series when I was watching, there was somebody who had, I guess, because of his magical abilities were being able to he's basically a necromancer. He can control undead and kind of create undead. But that was his magic. And because of how just wrong that magic is, he got kicked out and shunned and outcasted. So basically then he became very bitter and angry towards the kingdom, and he kind of wanted to take revenge. So he kind of staged an attack on the kingdom, and yeah, it's the main characters are kind of learning and growing, and they're gaining more abilities, which is cool. But at the same time, I don't know. I can't necessarily see where the series is going. I really can't. But again, I think the series is going to be like some 50 odd some episodes or something like that.
Mm.
So they're only in like episode in the maybe in the 20s or something like that.
Yeah, or like
So
24 or something.
yeah. So they still have room to start doing something with it. Like the only thing you know is that the two main characters that you guys can see on the screen right now want to be the next Wizard King. But as far as I know, to become the next Wizard King is something like after the current one is gone or something. I don't know. They don't really explain a lot of that. So I'm like sitting here going, okay, how is that going to work? How is the selection decided? Who decides it? What happens? And so far, we're just like, no, we're just gonna give you more story about what's going on in the world, kind of thing.
Hmm.
So I guess they're kind of in the early stages still.
Okay.
Both of them are gaining more power and getting stronger. The normal Isk guy in blue, he actually he gained an ability where he actually has like a wind sprite that he can kind of gives him more power, I guess.
Hmm.
But he still doesn't have a very good grasp on how to control it yet. So there's that. And the loudmouth who constantly yells, he got another sword.
Wow.
So like he has the one big one, which he uses to like shield from massive attacks or be able to cut through large items, but it's very slow. So then he ended
Okay.
up getting a smaller sword, sort of the same thing, but now it's quicker.
Okay.
So now all these fast attacks that can come in, he can actually counteract and do something about.
Okay.
So, and he also has shown the ability that he can take other people's abilities and use them temporarily. So there was an instance where someone was cloaking themselves with fire, and he couldn't get close enough to them to be able to counteract it. And it was basically a healing thing that he was doing. So any damage he did kept getting healed.
Okay.
The only way to do it was to counteract the fire with water. Of course, he doesn't have that magic, but someone in his group did, and he ended up temporarily gaining her ability. So when he slashed, it created like a water slice through the air that, when contacted with him, negated the magic, and the water just took over from there.
Ah.
So it's interesting. It's interesting, which keeps me wanting to go back. And occasionally, his overabundance of energy, enthusiasm with his yelling is actually called for because there's actually like critical moments or like intense emotional moments where you're like, okay, that's appropriate. You could do that. And he goes back to that when there's nothing else going on. And I'm like, oh God, stop it. So I don't know. It's an interesting show. I'm probably gonna continue watching it just because it has caught my attention. But I don't know how I feel totally about it. I'm like, in terms of like rating at this point in time, I'd like give it like an 80%. You get like an 80 out of 100.
Okay.
So it's not horrible. It's not like what was that one show? Bahamut. It's not in terms of like Bahamut where I just want to kill the guy on that one. I just want him to die. But he's still annoying, so I'm not quite 100% there.
Okay.
Either way, decent enough show. If you want to get into a show that's going to have some longevity, dealing with fantasy settings and magic and stuff like that, go for it. As long as you can get over the fact that the main character's freaking annoying.
Okay.
So
So you say right now it's still building. It isn't really like have a
I
clear
don't,
goal.
yeah, I don't feel like we've really, like, they keep hinting about things like, oh, there's this secret or organization or trying to undermine things and potential for characters to die and everything, but we haven't like gotten to that point yet.
Okay.
We're like just I feel like we're just about to kick it off. We're kind of in that mid range where we're like we're not quite there, but we're gonna be there. So
Like
you can,
the end of a training arc before you start fighting the villain.
yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Okay. Yeah, it's on the list for me, so I will revisit it one day. The next show we're going to be talking about is Darling in the Franxx.
I did not finish this one. I think I got up to like episode 8, so I was pretty close because there's only like 12 episodes for this, right?
I think there's going to be a 2-core.
Oh, it's gonna be a 2-core.
Yes.
I
So,
This like seems like it wants to take itself seriously, but then it's very much so awkward comedic kind of thing.
yeah, it's doing both. It's so
It really
funny.
is. And I mean, even if you were to look at AnyChart's description of this, it labels it as a sci-fi mecha, which it is,
Uh-huh.
which would denote the seriousness of it. And then the comedic part comes in, and you're like, well, okay, where did that come from? I think I want to I want to have you, because you've watched at least up to the current, right? So
Yes.
I want to allow you to do most, but I at least have to say the two parts that threw me off completely and just made me just go, wait, what? Where, like, it wasn't until like episode 3 or so that you finally see how they control the mechs, which makes me question that severely. I'm like, when you see, okay, for those of you who have not watched, when you see them in the mech that they're using, and they all have different ones that they use, you literally have the girl in front, and like it looks like she's trying to ride like a motorcycle or a speed bike, but she's leaned over heavily with her arms outstretched and everything. And the guy, because they do it in pairs, is sitting directly behind her. Why? Because apparently there's some sort of like joystick controller things that come out from their hips that are used. So basically the guy is the one controlling and the girl's the embodiment of it, I guess, kind of thing. But the look of it is so awkward. You're like, that does not look right. Because half the time, what do they show? They show when they show the girl's face, you can see the guy right behind and like reaching over, and you're just like, oh god, no, stop it, stop it. And then the whole thing on like the 4th or 5th episode, I think it was the 5th episode, where the main character guy finally gets back into the mech with the weird alien girl, and just, I don't know if it was the subtitles or what, but they're like, I'm so glad I'm inside you again, or I have to ride you again. And I'm just like, can we just get a phrasing here? Is there some place where we could just go, excuse me, phrasing, that did not sound right. I know what you were going for, but that still did not sound right. You need to think about that. Just, oh my god. Anyways, that, literally, that's my impression of the thing as far as that goes.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah. So for me, you warned me that something weird was coming, and I was like, I was trying to put it out of my head, but when I finally saw that he had to pilot the robot by basically grabbing the butt handles.
I mean, it's what they are, but still.
I kind of was like, oh, so instead of this being like Gurren Lagann, this is more like Kill la Kill, where it's like innuendo after innuendo after innuendo. And I'm like, okay, it's a little distracting. They kind of tone it down later on, towards the end of the first core. So you start focusing more on the main girl.
The alien girl.
Yeah, the alien girl or monster girl, whatever she is. Right now, there's something going on with her, and you don't know exactly what, because nobody's telling you yet. You
Gotcha.
meet a group of pilots, which I think they met the main crew that we're following, 13, I think, Squad 13 or whatever.
I watched that one.
Hmm?
I watched that one.
Yeah, so Squad 13, they met this group of, like, they were all dressed in white, and I think the main girl was part of their crew.
Yeah.
So all of them have something weird in common that they're not telling anybody, and the higher ups are keeping that information away from the Squad 13. Also,
I don't think that's not like the thing that I remember when they first met was the kids were, it's kids from the group that we know versus kids in that group were talking, and the kids from the group we know were saying, hey, so can't wait to get older so that way we can enjoy it like the adults do or whatever. And the ones from the group 13 kind of had that moment of, does he not know? I don't think he knows. Well, let's not tell him. So they kept it a secret. So something was going. It's not mainly with the alien girl, but it's with just the fact that they're piloting these mechs in general.
Yeah, and you get some slight information about that later on, but it's still like halfway through this. Like at the end of the first core, you still don't know exactly what it is. Like some people have blatantly said like, you're different, and we don't know why. Like we've revisited where they grew up, and like there's some weird things about the time where it's like, oh, we were here 6 months ago, and like it doesn't look like 6 months has passed unless there are different levels, like different age groups, and the people who just left 6 months ago are looking at like the newbies because the age different. I'm like, they're like 6-7 years apart. I don't really see that being 6 to 7 months. So I don't know. There's something really, really fishy. There's something really dark in the background that's coming.
So like maybe they're like clones, and
that's what I'm guessing. I'm
they
guessing
have like accelerated lifespans or something like that.
Yeah, they're either clones that have accelerated lifespans, or they're basically they're probably like clones.
I think I get it. I haven't watched. I may be off the mark here. This is pure speculation on my part. But what if? Because you never see the adults, do you? You never really see the adults, but they're always usually covered. And there's not usually a whole. I mean, they keep mentioning about the adults, right?
You get more information about them.
I'm just thinking, what if these kids are the clones of the adults? They're the clones sent out to fight because they're the only ones. The adults can't do it anymore. They're the only ones that can do it.
Okay, I can see that with the information that I know now. I can see that happening.
So they clone. Go ahead.
I also think maybe they're kind of like Evangelion, where they had an angel like locked in the bait, like in the main base somewhere, and they were like taking pieces of it and like cloning that. Like maybe they are like a hybrid between the monster and the human.
You think just the monster girl's more of one?
Yes.
That's possible.
She's too hard to control, so they dialed back the monster part. That's what I'm going for. It could be the other way too, because
I'm just thinking like they're saying like a time difference, so maybe they age differently, and if they have accelerated growth. But I never really seen much about the adults. You only hear about them. They're like this fabled. Oh, they're the adults. They're off on their own doing their own thing, and then father and everything like that. But it would just seem kind of like there are certain adults that they picked. And maybe it's because, and this is something else too, because they have this whole thing with emotions. Like, no one understands it. No one understands love. No one understands, like, these emotions, they're, like, completely foreign to them. But they're, like, almost integral to the robots.
Yes.
Because they actually make them work better. So what if the adults no longer have those emotions? They can't. There's something preventing them from getting those emotions. So they do clones of themselves, and somehow they were managing to, like, the younger versions of themselves actually can get it and do it. So that's where that's coming from. I don't know. It just seems like just because like the whole setting and like how they're all in moving fortresses and they have all these monsters around, yet there is some sort of big dark secret being kept for some reason. It just seems like where did these monsters come from? What was the origin of these? Why did you vacate? Who came up with the mobile cities that you currently have? And why did you
Yeah,
have these robots that you can now fight against them with?
yeah,
So,
yeah. And it's also weird because it's happened um, with It's happened with the main. What is her name? It's
they just call her like
O2.
what child or
Yeah, 002 or something like that.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so with her, the she is strong enough to where she can almost pilot the mech by herself. And a lot of the other characters are weak. Some of them have tried, and you can see that it's somewhat possible, but
Hmm.
the other people are missing something to where they can't actually pilot it. And then even 002, she can pilot it, but not for very long because she ends up getting thrashed once she pilots it and tries to fight for a little bit.
Yeah,
So my thing is like,
maybe they came up with these robots based upon the monster, and the only
yeah,
way
because I'm
that
like
they can
it's
activate
also
them.
it's very similar to Evangelion 2, where the monster will go in berserk mode and you can't eject the pilot
Hmm.
because and when it goes in berserk mode, it ends up eating the angels.
Yeah, yeah,
And that one, yeah. So this is it's funny that I'm like starting to make parallels to Evangelion right now because while I was
yeah.
watching it, I didn't think about that. But yeah, the show's really really good. I can't wait to find out like
Huh.
what's happening because at the end of Core 1, 002's going through something, and I'm like, what is this?
Hmm.
So it's like I'm worried
Well,
for her. I'm
and
curious to
and
see what happens with the kids,
that
and
that
it's
that almost would make sense too because during the process where the main guy character, 16, was riding with Zero Two, the he had that weird growth that had started
yeah,
that almost looked alien, and its potential that because like the mechs are somehow related and like the monsters themselves, and since she obviously has more of the monster flowing through her than anything else, she's probably like split honestly 50-50. Then maybe that was like a feedback that was going to him in that sense.
hmm,
And that's why there was this whole stigma about no one can ride with her for more than 3 times before they die. And
yeah,
it's because like compatibility wise, but I think there again, I think emotions play a role in that as well, because it was when he accepted it, and when he actually started to feel some things beyond his feeling of duty to be able to ride these mechs, that it finally went away.
yeah,
So it's complicated, really complicated.
yeah. And I'm really really curious about the that white crew also
Yeah,
because
what happened with them?
yeah, like they meet with them later on, and like one of that main guy that I guess made everybody mad earlier. I only remember the second encounter. I don't remember the first encounter all too well. But they yeah, he's like I feel like he's about to instigate something. Like he's
Uh,
like, oh, I'm interested in y'all now, just like how O2 was interested in the main guy. So
gotcha.
I feel like he may spill some beans and like cause this huge chaos.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited about this show. The show's good, very very good.
As long as you can get over the innuendos and all the awkwardness.
Yeah, they've kind of slowed down. They've slowed down. Every now and then they're like, "Oh yeah, remember? He's riding her. Remember? Yeah, butt handles. Remember?" So,
Oh God.
yeah. So the next
You remember the
show.
butt handles? Yeah. Butt
Uh,
handles in your face. Woo!
But like they don't leave it to just the mechs. Like the two colonies, like there's like they have to recharge, and like to
Yeah.
recharge they have to like connect the rods.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember that. Yep. Because that was where they first met that other group. Oh God. You know, it's like they're like, I have this feeling. It's like they're like, we're really serious about this, and we're just like laughing. They're like, stop being immature. We're just talking about rods and people riding. Come on now, totally normal. Like, no, it's not. It's funny. Stop it.
It's so funny. But yeah. So everybody should watch this show. It's awesome. If you like Gurren Lagann, if you like Kill la Kill, you would like this. Alright. Next show we're gonna be talking about is Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody.
Yes. I enjoy this anime. I think they're doing a really good job on taking an overpowered character and not having him be too overpowered. I mean, he's definitely overpowered. You know he's going to solve whatever crisis or whatever thing's coming up, but he doesn't, like... Okay, say for instance, like, cell phone in another world, a cell phone. Like, he was bluntly obvious with everything he was doing. He was like, I don't care who knows. I don't care. I'm going to be like, look, I'm the greatest. I can do all this stuff. Ha, 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 kind of thing. Whatever. I'll do it. You know? This guy, though, he's like... There was an instance where there was this huge... like there was monsters attacking the city.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he could probably dispatch all the monsters by himself. Completely. Probably could. Definitely if he didn't care about destroying the surrounding area, he could probably use his meteor strike that he's been
That's what I was thinking. The immediate thing would be like, yeah,
I'm done.
Dead.
Just all of them dead. But he organized all the people around him and said, all right, I want you to do this. You guard over here. You take out whoever's coming this way. You do this. And then off to the one side, he was kind of like monitoring things. And occasionally he had like pebbles in his hand. And he would like flick the pebbles at the monsters and the monsters would die. But no one would see this. You just see it. Like a pebble come out of nowhere, or just like it was so fast you didn't even see anything, and just the monster would die, and everyone's like, "All right, whatever," and they just carried on, you know.
Oh, so he didn't like cover it like somebody hit it,
no,
and then it died.
No. He's just they were flying creatures that were coming in, so some of them were getting by the shield that surrounded the city, but some of them weren't. Some of them were able to get through. And
I thought he was like giving them like good morale, like somebody would come out with like this little bitty story and be like, and then it dies. He's like, look, I did it. He's like, yay, you did it, good job.
Now, actually, the people around him are pretty good. They're actually able to hold their own and do some things and whatnot. But it's funny because like the one, okay, which if you see her, the one to his immediate left, I would say silver hair, but they both, like the one to his right has silver hair too. But like the one to his immediate left, sitting next to him there on that picture, she is also from another world. Oh. But like he got transported. She got resurrected. Oh. So she died in her world and then resurrected as got born into this world. Okay. But she still retained her memories and actually was had more abilities than your average person because of it. Uh-huh. So he's finding people that are like that, which is also cool. But she is constantly amazed because, like, he'll be like, she kind of knows he has a good amount of strength and battle prowess, but he'll do things like, at one point, he started doing alchemy because while riding through, there was somebody, a lord or somebody who took advantage of a farmer, and like he hit him and broke, and like didn't break but like sprained a bone or something like that, and so he gave him one of their health potions and it healed him back up and he was perfectly fine. But of course they were like, oh my god, it's so expensive, we don't, we can't take this. He's like, just take it, because he's got tons, he doesn't really care. He's like, just take it. But then the girl was like, we do kind of make sure we need some of those for ourselves, right? And he's thinking about it. He's like, oh, maybe I should look into alchemy, alchemy, to be able to actually do stuff like that. So next thing you know, when they're camping the next time, he's got his little table out and he's actually crafting potions, putting things together and stuff like that. And she's like, wow, okay. And then at one point, he's like, you know what? I should probably look into maybe later on magical items. So like that night when everyone else went to sleep, he starts crafting a magical item on his own. Okay. And the girl comes up and goes, how many skills do you have? He's just like, I'm just trying things out. I don't know how this is going to work. And he experiments, which is cool. Because he's like, I don't know how this is going to work. This may work better than this, but then this might work better than this. So let me see how this works and do that. It's interesting. The characters are varied and interesting. And even though he, like, all the girls that are surrounding him on that wagon have like a connection to him and like him, it's the only one who he actually has, it seems like to me at least, a love interest in is the blonde girl that's in the front.
Okay.
That's the only one.
Mm-hmm.
The only one he's really shown more than just, more than just common affection for.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's just been nice and making sure that they're, they got what they need and stuff like that. But the rest of them, are just like, he's like, all right, well, I'll help you, oh, you need clothes, you need food, sure, why not? And he has to constantly like keep track of that and just like make sure he's not showing too much. He's always like, I don't want to give away too much that, because he has like a fortune that he could potentially spend on all the money from that initial fight that happened, because he got gold items and everything from it. And even then he's not even telling the people that he's with everything, because at one point, in order to maintain a potion, you actually have to put them in a specific vessel that's actually designed for it. So there was a whole ordeal. He was trying to craft some. He was at a pottery place. They had him in the kiln, and some guys came by and pretty much were about to wreck the kiln. But what he did is he touched the kiln itself, because there was like a couple hundred bottles in there, and he ended up putting it into his item bag, essentially. Now, and there's this magical world, they do have item bags, but his works in a completely different way than your normal item bag. So, like, when someone puts an item into their item bag, the item will still deteriorate. And there's a limit to how much you can put in there. There's, like, you can only put, like, 8 items in there. His has no limit. And the minute you put an item in there, however you put it in there, when you take it out, that's how it's going to come back out. So, like, for one instance, like, someone had made something they were making some leftovers from the evening, and he was experimenting with that idea. So while everyone was asleep, he made something for everyone to eat and put it into his item carrying thing. And then in the morning, he took it out before everyone got up. And everyone's like, wow, you cooked breakfast, because it was still hot.
That's cool.
Hours and hours and hours in between, it was still just as hot as when he first made it.
Who needs a refrigerator where you can just have an item bag?
Exactly. But the item bag that typically most people have, the minute you put it in there, it is going to deteriorate. So it would have cooled off by then. Mm-hmm. So it's these little things like this. And then he found in this world, actually a what would have been like a Japanese gateway, because it had like those arches. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay, yeah.
But they were like huge arches, and they were all collapsed, and like they'd been collapsed for a long time. Mm-hmm. And he started having memories come back to him. So there's a lot of like backstory and things going on and whatnot. So at this point in the story, though, he is on his way back. The girl to the left is actually an elf. Mm-hmm. And she got kidnapped. So he's on his way back now to return her home. And that's pretty much where the story left off.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, it's only 12 episodes. They've done at this point. I know they're going to have another series come out, another season. I just don't know when. But I am kind of looking forward to it.
Okay, so they kind of put a button on that one and be like, okay, first course done and we'll be back later, or next week?
They literally they put a button on it. We're like, all right, we're done here. This is what happened. We're good. They're still traveling, but all the current predicaments that they were in are done.
Okay.
So we'll pick it back up next season, kind of thing. Cool. So this is definitely one, like, it's a little touch and go every now and then, but for the most part, I would recommend anyone who's interested in fantasy animes give this one a watch. I know a lot of people shy away from ones where you're like, oh, the character's so overpowered, but he doesn't flaunt it. He's very, because like I said before, like there's one point where he was in a dungeon. He got transported into a dungeon along with a whole bunch of other people, and there was a demon in there, and everyone was having a problem with. Well, he got knocked away kind of purposefully, because then when he came back, he had like a disguise on. And then he's like pulled out a sword and he was like, all right, now we're gonna fight. So that way no one knew it was him.
Yeah.
He was like, all right, this is how it's gonna happen. That way everyone doesn't think that I'm some hero or something like that. I'm gonna keep it. No one knows.
So like, whoosh! Ah, my arm! Ah! And then he comes back. Ah!
Well, it was like because they had found like was it a tunnel, but it was like a hole that connected all these other tunnels going down. So he purposely got knocked into that hole, and everyone was like, "Oh no, he fell!" But they were too busy fighting. They didn't know that he had ended up catching himself later, like further down the way, putting on the disguise, and then bounced himself back up.
Nice.
Came back
That's
up and
cool.
like, "Ha!" Demon was like, hey, you can't defeat me. And then it's funny too because they have things like the more he does things, he has titles that he keeps acquiring.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And it's funny because when he gets these titles, the demon he was facing goes, "Well, you're not a hero." Well, he actually had the title of hero in his status quo. He just didn't have it equipped. So once he came back, he then equipped hero status, and then he took care of it. So,
That's funny.
audio went really loud for a second. It went crazy.
Is it okay now?
Okay, yeah, that's okay now. But it went absolutely crazy there for a second.
Okay.
All right, anyways, it's like almost like a screech. I was like, ah!
Okay. I thought you were playing the monster. You're like, ah,
No. The audio just went like almost like you screech a record player or something like that.
Okay.
I was like, what the? No, okay.
Let me move these devices then. Maybe.
So-
Okay.
Anyways, yes.
Okay.
Long story short, Death March, fantasy anime, highly recommend even for those. I would give it a shot. I mean, I think anyone should really take a look at it because it's just kind of fun. And it kind of takes a lot of those tropes that people have about animes in that regards, and especially harem animes, this one's kind of turning into, and kind of takes a lot of those things on its head.
Okay. Out of a lot of the other fantasy stuff that we've covered, this one seems to be a bit more interesting. So it'll be on the list.
To me, it's just more. It's more fun. It's not highly action oriented. It's just kind of fun.
Cool. Alright. The next show we're going to be talking about is Grancrest War.
This one's weird. This one's weird in a lot of ways. Within the first couple of episodes, because we did our initial thoughts, I had an idea of what this anime was going to be about and how this was going to proceed and everything. Halfway through it, since I picked it back up again, because I let it go for a while, and then I picked it back up and finished it up, it took a completely different turn.
Okay.
I almost want to say that this is something very similar in a lot of respects to Game of Thrones, if you took the dragons out of it. Take the dragons out of it, and of course then the dragon mother, whatever, take that out of it, and that's what you get with this almost.
Okay.
And obviously they put their own little twists on it and everything, because they have lords with crests, and someone's trying to get all the crests together so they can get rid of all the chaos in their mind. But it's the way things are proceeding. I'm like, oh my god, I'm almost mirroring characters in Game of Thrones with Grancrest. There's a lot of characters I'm like, well, that's that one, because there's like a queen that from another continent who came over, and she's just being absolutely ruthless. She's disobeying a whole bunch of like code and stuff like that, and she's taking every possible thing that she can do in order to win this battle, to win the war. And it's becoming just insane. And I remember a character in Game of Thrones who was like this queen and mother, and she lost her children, and she kind of just went war crazy and insane, and she's very ruthless. And I'm like, wow, those two like mirror each other in so many ways. It's crazy. And then even the main guy character, kind of reminds me of Jon Snow in some ways because the way he's very, chivalrous and trying to go by the code and everything, but at the same time, he does what he needs to do, and it's just, yeah, it's just really great. Like, and this whole war situation just reminds me of how the battle in Game of Thrones was coming together with the two main sides trying to battle it, within the third side coming in, and it just. Anyways, yeah, I mean it's going all over the place. The only thing I can say is like at the very beginning, there wasn't a whole lot of it, but towards the middle and the end, I don't know why, but they feel like they need to put forth like sex scenes. That's why, and also I'm like, wow, this is like Game of Thrones, because Game of Thrones is like, you know what? Throw a sex scene in there. Why not? Do it. Just out of nowhere. Let's have it. And I'm like, all right, that happened. But it's just, again, I'm just like, and then one of them was like almost like a rapey kind of scene almost, which I'm just like, all right, skip over this. Okay, are we back? Are we done? Okay, now we're done. All right, let's go ahead and do this now. So it's just, again, so much of it, I'm just like, this is like an anime twist on Game of Thrones. Seriously, freaking weird. I know they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna have walkers like they do in Game of Thrones, but still, it's just weird.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a completely different tone than the beginning of the first 3 episodes would have said to me. I mean, there was, like at the end of the 3rd episode, there was a huge battle. Don't get me wrong, but it seemed like it was very much. It should have been there. It was contained. It should have been there. Things were proceeding the way it should have. Maybe a little accelerated or whatever, but still not too bad. Then afterwards, it's just like mass amounts of just people dying, blood, gore, random sex scenes, and magic. And I'm just like, really? Did we walk into Game of Thrones anime here? What happened?
So this is the one that had the wedding at the beginning that got messed up?
Yeah.
Did they go back to that person who messed it up?
The demon that came through? Yeah, no, that's not come back. They're in their mind, well, at least the queen, the female that was there for that wedding that got interrupted. She's kind of a queen now, essentially. Anyways, she's under the impression that as long as she gets all the crests from all the other lords around and unites them into one, all the chaos will go away. And she's willing to take those crests by force if necessary.
Mm-hmm. So as far as chaos, is that like some kind of curse, or
it's just like a miasma that's around the land.
And if it gets high enough, then that demon will come back?
Well, it's like in certain parts it's just a miasma where it's like almost poison to humans, and in other parts it's just like demons will show up. Not like the biggest bad that came to that wedding, but just random small mini-time demons, though normal humans can't really do much about.
Yeah.
Normal like farmers and stuff like that, they really can't do much with it. So
when you say miasma, that reminds me of Inuyasha.
Kind of.
So
I think I know where you're going with that, and it's kind of very similar in a lot of sense.
Okay.
Because it was bad, because like there is a rule among lords that you're not supposed to use chaos or the miasma in battle. You're just supposed to you're not allowed. Can't do it. Well, at one point they were trying to take out this castle that was well defended. So the queen, well, her mage, had the idea of, let's go to the swamp that's nearby, stir up the miasma, and then shift the wind so it blows into that castle. And there's nothing they can do about it. And every one of the soldiers was like, no, you can't do that. That's against all sorts of codes. It's wrong in every sense of the word. And she's like, let's do it. So they did, and literally it was like this fog that rolled in and came over them, and everyone, if they did not die, became incapacitated. So when it cleared up, they were still mostly incapacitated, so the army just swept in. And literally, people just lying there, they would spear and kill, like, mercilessly. And I'm just like, wow, that's hardcore.
So, like, my question is, so as far as like the way the story's flowing, is it continuing? Is it buttoned up, or?
It's continuing, and I think it doesn't end this season. I don't think it's actually continuing into next season. I want to say.
Okay, so my question that I would like to be answered for it is
Oh wait, no.
um
There's 13 episodes supposedly, and I know I'm in episode 12, I think. So there's only one episode more in this, but I don't. They can't button everything up right now. No way.
okay. So if they do come, like I guess if they come back, my question that I would hope that would be answered is whose decision was it to make the wedding? Did they like have like a big meeting with all the different
So
groups
what
and
ended
they're
up
like,
happening was it was both political and a love interest thing.
uh,
Because they do explain that the two that are now on opposing sides of each other actually fell in love with each other.
uh,
There was a love there.
uh,
There was a meeting, things happened, and then it was later on that it was decided that the two should join so that way two different factions could unite into one
mm,
and hopefully bring about peace to the whole world and maybe get rid of the chaos.
uh,
But because of the demons strike and everything, it just deteriorated from there.
okay. And then how many factions are there? Are there just two factions or?
There are two main factions.
Hmm.
There is a third party who is they're kind of like they're very much how to say they're like if I were to say in our world they would come from like places near East India kind of. They had like the Arabic looking garb on, and
Mm,
they had more scimitar looking blades than just regular swords.
uh-huh.
But they're very ruthless and like they're quick to kill, which reminds me of another thing for Game of Thrones because there was a faction that was like that in there. Um, so I'm like, God damn, really? How did you just change so suddenly in that? Um, and then the main character is actually kind of creating a fourth faction.
Okay.
So
Okay. I guess that answers all my questions.
yeah, it's so awkward. I want to say it's good. I'm not sure I would recommend it, but it's good. I kind of want people to watch it and kind of give their opinions of it too because it's so different in a lot of ways. But then again, it's also so very familiar, Game of Thrones. But it's just kind of like one of those. I would recommend Death March before I would recommend Grancrest, but I still don't think Grancrest is bad.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of how I look at it. Hard to say.
Okay.
Like Death March would get like a 90 out of 100 for me. Grancrest would get like an 80 out of 100.
Okay.
So
Hmm. What if what if in the next core they had White Walkers?
I'd be like, really? Or like a variation of that they didn't call that, but then everyone was
Yeah.
like, oh God, we need to go and kill these things because they're gonna kill all of us. I'd be like, wow, seriously, you guys were watching Game of Thrones when you made this anime, weren't you? Like,
And
no
it's
joke.
like, and it's like all you need is dragons now, and just
Yeah, yeah.
playing.
Oh look, next episode. Here comes the dragons. Ah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. If out of the two, Death March and this one, I would definitely lean more towards Death March. I haven't seen Game of Thrones either. All I know is like the certain terms from it, so I have a vague idea of what you're talking like how you're referring to them back and forth. I have a vague idea.
I haven't even watched all of it. It's just some of them I'm just like, come on, really?
Hmm. Okay. So yeah. Let's see. We have a message.
Currently, I mean, I'd want to say Death March. I don't want to be in Death March's world just the way because that dude's freaking cool on his own way. Because the way he handles things, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I totally do that. That would totally be me. If I woke up in another world and then got OP because of what he did, I'd be like, yep, I'm good.
I would say either Gate or Sword Art Online. Would
I don't know too many.
oh
I don't know too many of those.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what? Do they have a just straight male fantasy anime?
I don't know.
Usually it's reverse harem.
Yeah.
So like Fushigi Yugi,
Uh-huh.
Mysterious Play. It's a show that came out in the late '90s and is basically 2 main girls, and then all the rest would be. I'd pick that one then.
Yeah, there's just so many. Oh, you know what? I just thought about it. Oh, what was the name of that one? Oh, it was an older one. Something about the king. Oh no. Oh no. I can't remember the name of it. But I know that one was the Cali one. It was so much.
Much manliness.
Yeah, no, it was. He ended up. Oh no. Because he ended up getting like inadvertently married. God Save the King. That's what it was. Yeah.
God Save the King.
Save Our King. Yeah, God Save Our King anime. Yep.
Okay. Kyokara Mao?
Yep. Which is God Save the King.
Okay.
That I mean, come on. Just the one image and it's just all dudes. Or the one where the king's there and he has his what is a quote unquote his wife, which he never agreed to. And they have like the cherry blossoms in the background. It's all I'm like, no, come on, really? No. If that ain't out, I don't know what is.
Isn't there
some of them even dress up in
Snow White with the red hair?
Oh, so wrong. Anyways.
I'm curious if that one's a fantasy one too, because I think it's just one main girl and all guys also.
Strike Manta, that's about as close as I say I'm going to get to it. I think that's a pretty good one.
I think Snow White with the... I don't know, Snow White with the red hair is more of like a romance, and it's kind of a boring world. Yeah, I would go for Shigeki. I don't know. It's kind of old, kind of dated, but...
Yeah, and I'm Kyokara. Well, see, mine's pretty dated too. Kyokara Maro, and I think that came out like, what, early 2000s?
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, so mine's like slightly older, but those are the only ones I could think of. I don't think they usually make a reverse harem fantasies.
Not typically.
Oh yeah, if they are, then they're straight romance, and they're not.
So the anime version of what I watched came out in 2004.
Okay.
Oh,
I think mine was like 1996.
Oh wow, yeah. Hey, we're pretty close to each other in that regards.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's only like 8 years apart. That's not much.
Okay, cool. Good question. Good question. That was cool. All right, the next show we're gonna be talking about is Kokkoku.
Moment. We watched both of these. We both of us watched these.
Yes. I just finished it hours ago.
This was so weird in a lot of ways, but cool as well. And is it just me, or did you kind of start hating the father towards the end there? Not the grandfather, but the father.
I hated him from the get-go.
Just this whole, like, him psyching himself up about putting his foot down, and, you know, I'm going to say we're going to keep the stone, we're going to use it for our own purposes. And I'm like, really, dude, come on. With everything that has happened and all the bad that has occurred, you're still on the, I'm going to keep the stone, I'm going to use it, and I'm going to make this family great. It's like, no.
Yeah, so I hated, like, him talking like that because that was a complete contrast to what everybody else was trying to do. Yeah. They're like, no, this shouldn't be used for gaining, like just gaining anything. It should be used to, like, to save people, or it should not be used at all. And then he's like, oh, we're gonna get rich. And I thought, like, I didn't like him saying that over and over. And then he said one sentence, and I'm like, okay, I see where you're coming from, but I still don't agree. And the one sentence that he said is like, he's like, this family is like, basically says this family always has tons of bad luck. And I don't know the brother's story, like why he has a kid and he's not with the mom, or the mom's maybe living with them. I'm not sure. They didn't explain the mom too much. The mom of the kid. So the guy, he's basically just at home playing video games, and there's like 4 generations of dudes in the house. And
only the females actually work.
Well, yeah. Well, it's one of the females works, but she's not part of the family. She's just the mother of the kid. the female that's in the family, remember she got rejected from like 19 interviews?
Yeah.
And I'm like, she seems like a reliable person. It's just maybe there is some kind of weird curse that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as the dad, we don't know what troubles the dad has gone through, but I can see him like just for a second, just for a second, I was like, I see where he's coming from, because I'm pretty sure he's tried to do well and things just never turned out, so he kind of gave up. And then maybe his son either took directly after his dad, who's already broken down, or he tried and failed, and then the sister tried and failed right away, like from the first episode. I look, it's like I kind of see what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Still, I'm just like, dude, you realize with how much trouble, how much death, and how much destruction this has caused.
Yeah.
Why do you want to? No, stop it.
Yeah.
This should not be used.
Yeah, and I was hoping that he didn't I hope he wasn't capable enough to get away and kick everybody out and end up being in that world and messing things up. Because I was like, no, it shouldn't be used like that.
Well, I did think it was funny that everyone else in the family seemed to have an ability that they could do in that world, yet he was the only one who couldn't. He had no ability. Yeah, the son had ability, the daughter had ability, the grandfather had ability. I'm just like, no, stop.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Either way, it was, I don't know, it was very weird. I liked the premise of it, to being able to watch those things, or to be able to do the things they could do, stop time in that second. How am I going to say that? Stop time in that second, and the ability to have just, those weird Guardian things that came out and how they came about. I love that. That was like, well, that's cool. Yeah. Somebody whose mind's too weak, and that's why they say don't go in there. Stop going in there.
Yeah.
So if somebody's mind's too weak, you're just going to turn into one of those things. Don't do that.
Yeah. Definitely.
But towards the end, that was really rough. I mean, she spent almost half a year in that world.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't until she stumbled across randomly that the actual originator of all of that, where all of that came across. And I don't know, that was cool, but it also kind of seemed a little forced. Like they couldn't figure out how to tell. They're like, we want to wrap this up, but we don't know how.
Yeah.
So let's have instead of the creator of the stones be the originator of this, let's have this woman be the originator of this, and she can travel back and forth however she pleases. Which was cool, but I'm like, that seemed forced.
Yeah, and they kind of tried to have the she was different because when she lost her motivation and started becoming part of the stasis, she ended up seeing a light, and when she went to the light, that light was the lady. So I'm like, what did everybody else see whenever they?
I'm curious about that. Hope? I'm curious about that too.
So did they see nothing, or did they see the light and they just couldn't get to it? I'm not sure. Yeah, but I feel like they just kind of tried to button it up real quick because they couldn't think of a reason how to get her back. Because everybody's like, you won't be able to come back, and she's like, I know, but. Just get out of here.
Well, so. I can't quite blame her on that. I mean, she just, she knew how it was going to happen after she destroyed the stone, and she made that choice herself. Yeah. She destroyed the stone, but she knew that it was something that had to be done.
Yeah.
So, once she knew that, and she was like, everyone was like, well, don't you realize? She's like, of course I realize. Why wouldn't I realize,
Yeah.
But again, it's nice that it kind of wrapped up. At the same time, it's also kind of like, okay, you guys just kind of threw that in there. Come on.
Yeah. I would say one thing that I didn't like is the villain, the main villain. I don't know what it is about media these days where
to die so bad. Why don't you die? God, just die.
Well, yeah, it's he was cool. He was a good villain up until the last few episodes. Yeah. Right when he was backed into a corner, they're like, we're like, oh my god, they're gonna kill him finally, and they're like, no, but he had a troubled past, and he's actually just a good guy, and he just had a bad role in life. Look, like, see, here's his backstory, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. That's not fair. Like, how come he can't just be a bad guy, just be a bad person, and then they poof and get rid of him?
I don't know. At least his reasoning behind it was unique.
Yeah.
I would say. It's not so much like the only reason why he was going to kill them was because he didn't want them potentially getting in his way later on.
Yeah.
That was the only reason. Had he known that they were never going to be a problem, he wouldn't have bothered with them. And he would have done what he wanted to do, which was just live to see the end of everything, to get all the way to see the conclusion and be the only one to be able to know what happens, how humanity changes and everything, which I thought was cool. I was like, well, you're not really bugging it. You're just kind of wanting to be a watcher.
Yeah, I agree that part was cool. The only problem with that is once he got that power, then he's like, okay, I have this power. What can I do with it? Can I kill anybody? And then the things won't show up. And then,
well, again, he was testing his limitations, which I see that there's good reason to do that. You want to see how far you can go and how far you shouldn't go. But at the same time, it was just like, I think some of those squid things, even though he was kind of in control, they still kind of had an influence on him.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a complete control; it was just a most control.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if he like talked to them and like, well, actually, somebody explained his whole plot. Like they overheard what he was talking about, and then he kind of told them. They're like, "Oh, he's trying to become some kind of immortal thing," and then they're like, "No, we got to stop him."
Well, the only reason they had to stop him is because he was going to kill them.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted. I kind of wish that he just stayed pure evil, and because they're like, no, he's really like Steins, and look now he's a baby. You won't hurt a baby, would you? And they're like, no, let's take him with us and raise him as our own. I'm like, come on.
I was kind of curious about that because that kind of threw me for a second when she was on the floor at the end of it, and that kid came up, and it took me a second to realize, oh, that's the baby, and now the baby's calling her mom. So now she's a mom just like the other. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
It's
interesting. It's unique. I would say for those out there, it's worth a watch. Because it is unique.
It is unique because it's like if it's a freezing time story. It's not really a traveling time story. Like, you don't have the issues where it's like butterfly effect.
Yeah, someone makes a mistake somewhere and it has detrimental effects later on or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like the reverse of a time travel story.
Yeah,
which is very cool. So, if anybody's interested in that one, you can check it out. It's over on Amazon Prime. So,
unfortunately,
yeah. Okay, so the questions. Where dinosaurs? Anyway, Violet Evergarden. So, I wanted to watch that, but Netflix has it. So,
I stop getting into the anime game, everybody.
So,
stop it.
The way that Netflix is actually getting into it is they are producing anime. So Violet Evergarden, they paid to have that produced. So it's their property.
Is that the same as Seven Deadly Sins?
I think that's Amazon. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe.
No,
actually, no, you said Netflix.
Yeah.
Maybe. I wouldn't think so. I would think that maybe they help distribute it, or they pay for the streaming rights. Because if it was a Netflix property, they would only have it on their service. So there's like Little Witch Academia. It's like Children of the Whales.
Yeah.
And Violet Evergarden. Those are all paid for by Netflix shows.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to watch it. A lot of people were saying they're getting really hyped for it when the trailer came out. But it's one of them things where it's like they don't release the episodes weekly. So we can't talk about it on the podcast like we would normally on other shows. So
Yeah.
maybe when we do final thoughts again, maybe I'll pick Violet Evergarden up so I can do a final thoughts on it. But um, yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but I know it looks really good, and I really wanted to watch it. So, did you see the trailer for Violet Evergarden?
I did not.
Okay, but yeah, maybe in 3 episodes we'll talk about final thoughts on that one. We shall see.
Animation looks good.
Yes, looks very. I can't remember what studio did it, or studio worked on it.
Kyoto?
Oh yes,
Kyoto Animation?
Kyoto, yeah. So it's
I don't know.
good.
It looks more like a. Well, I know it's labeled as
A
a drama,
romance.
so
Yeah.
yeah. It's a fantasy, but it's more of it's a drama as well. So
What is your stance on romance? 'Cause I know you're not into the lovey-dovey.
yeah, I don't know. Romance. I think it's more like there's another one where it's just I kind of have to be in that mindset,
Mhm.
or the story itself has to be compelling enough that I'll be like, okay, I'll watch it, even with the romance and everything in there, love interest, story and whatnot. As long as the story is good enough on its own,
Mhm.
if they want to add in a romance or something like that, I'm okay with it.
Okay, so let's say Chobits.
I was okay with Chobits.
Yeah, because it's mostly human and android interaction, and then they just
Yeah.
happen to fall for it.
Well, and then what was that one? Palm Tiger.
Toradora.
Yeah, I was okay with that one too, and that's definitely a romance as well.
Uh
But I was okay with that.
huh. Okay.
But again, it interested me enough that I could watch it, and I was not overwhelmed with just like, oh, this is just nothing but romance thrown at your face kind of thing.
Mhm. So like,
So
what is that other one? So you wouldn't like that one show called My Love Story, where
No.
they're just ooey gooey lovey dovey.
yeah, no, not at all.
Alright. The next show we have on the list is Mahotsukai no Yome, or The Ancient Magus's Bride.
Ah, yes. Man, this was a roller coaster to be sure. Um, you feel. Okay, so basically to say at the end of that the 24th episode that they showed, they could end it right there. It's done. They could potentially do more with it if they wanted to.
Mhm.
So I mean I imagine they might do like an OVA or something like that. But for the most part, it's done.
So kind of like begin it with the OVA and then close it with another OVA.
Yeah, they could do something like that. They could be like, all right, well, here's a little after story thing or whatnot. This is kind of what happened and went on, how they grew up and everything. They still did not explain a whole lot about the Magus himself. They did and they didn't, because they said, well, this is what happened long time ago. Here's what he came from. But there was a lot of mystery involved with that. They didn't know. They're like, well, we know he's a creature and monster, and he's got magic powers and kind of fey in his own, but we still don't know where he came from. And he doesn't know where he came from. He literally only remembers his first memory is of him walking.
Okay.
Has no memory else. But again, it was still, they had so many characters in here from all sorts of lore, Titania, Oberon, where I don't want to spoil it for you, but where their maid came from.
Oh, yeah.
Her.
I still haven't seen that. Yeah.
And the dragons. What about them? They even went into Christianity lore with the main protagonist in this whole thing, where he came from and how that came about. And I was like, wow, that's kind of cool.
Antagonist.
Antagonist, yeah. Antagonist. Sorry. Anyways, but yeah, it's just, and then just the magic that's used, how it's used, and then how she. Well, again, I don't want to spoil it. I know you want to watch it. I know you're going to watch it.
Yes, I do.
I'm trying not to spoil anything, but just like, the conclusion between her and the antagonist and how that came about and how she did what she did with being able to be with the Magus and everything. It's just, I only like okay. I know this is not necessarily like a typical romance story, but they do have a love interest there.
Mhm.
But even then, with that love interest, I didn't even mind it a tiny bit at all.
Yeah.
Just because it seemed legit. It seemed very much realistic. It flowed nicely, and it never got in the way. And even their little comedic moments that they have every now and then. It was almost like Full Metal Alchemist.
Mm.
They're very serious, but when they go comedic because like the faces go weird.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens with them too.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
you'll
That's
see
funny.
his like because he's got that it's like that cow skull looking thing, but
Yeah.
then all of a sudden when he goes comedic, like all of a sudden it grows really big. It's like
Yeah.
all fat looking and everything, and he just kind of he'll say his line. You're like, oh god, you're laughing because it's funny. It's entertaining in that way. But there's also very serious moments too, and you realize that. See, this is an anime unlike was it Grancrest we were talking about that with, where it's like it went serious, or what was it? We were just talking about it. That they had FranXX,
Yes.
where it's like they're very serious and they mean to be serious, but they have those moments where you're like, that's just funny. I'm sorry, it's just funny. This defines that where it goes, no, this is the serious, this is the funny. We get it.
Uh-huh.
You're like, all right, cool. I can mentally process that, and it's not like a stumbling block for me
Yeah.
where I go, oh, that was funny, but wait, that's not where it's supposed to, you're not wanting to be funny. Why did we do that? And it completely throws you off.
Hmm.
So, no, this is a very well done, very nice anime, and it just goes to show because this was done by Wit Studio that
Yes.
they can do some good stuff. They haven't had too many titles under their belt, but for the most part, the ones that they have been awesome.
Yeah.
So, those of you out there, this is the same studio that did Attack on Titan. You like that one? Check this one out. You got to give it a shot. I can't gush enough about this. I can't say to enough people and recommend to enough people watch this anime. You're gonna like it.
Cool. Yep, I completed the first core, so I'm excited to get to the second core. My time is slowly freeing up, so hopefully I can fit this in along with. Actually, I don't even know. Next season's got some heavy hitters, so
It does.
yeah. I don't know. This one maybe lost the time for me. I watched half of it, but I really want to watch the rest. So
Oh, you so
maybe
should.
maybe if all the crazy shows are too crazy for me, I'll kind of be like, no, let's go back to some good stuff that I know is good.
Yeah,
So,
because all the shows. I mean, there are some heavy hitters, but there are also some just absolutely just crazy, mind blowing ones as well
so
coming this next season. So
okay. All right. I am excited to hear your thoughts on this next show. The next show we're going to be talking about is Overlord Season 2.
yes. So you guys, if you watched the previous one where we did our initial thoughts, you know how I was like, oh my god, get off the Lizardmen. Get off the Lizardmen. I'm tired of hearing about the Lizardmen. We're done with the Lizardmen. Just stop it. No more, stop it. Well, we did finish it up. And it's like that took the first half of this whole thing. 6 episodes devoted to nothing but freaking Lizardmen. Why? Why? But then like after that, no mention of them whatsoever. It's like they were like a footnote. They're like, all right, this is what's happening. Moving on. And I'm like, I appreciate the thought, but why did we? It was so important before, and now you're just backlogging it. You're like, all right, we're done with it. Done. Like, oh God, whatever. Anyways, I don't know the main character. I'm having a hard time. I'm mentally struggling with myself because when okay, for the first season, when that went down, this guy who had this character got transported to this other world, and then this now became his reality. He was here. This was his body, how everything worked, whole 9 yards, right?
Mhm.
But he still retained most of himself.
Yeah.
Like he had his own internal monologue, his own thought processes, and the way he handled things was still like, even though he found a way to make it to where it was his gain by doing so, he still went to go rescue the people in that town. It was to
Yeah.
his benefit, but he still went and did that.
Mm-hmm.
What season 2, especially that last part, or this last half, is showing me is that he seems to be becoming more of what he is now. Like that whole mentality of, being able to save people or whatnot, yeah, that's almost gone now. Almost. He's now becoming more like the undead that he is. And I don't know, I get it. It's a transition for him and everything. I just don't know if I like that or not. I mean, there's reason for it, and it's a good reason, but I'm still just like, oh, man, some of his decisions now, like his whole, I want to attack, his whole thing about attacking the lizard people. I'm like, would previous him have said that? Would season 1 him have said that and done that? Because like he just annihilated them. He took their strongest warriors and put the bug general that he has up in front, Cocutus. He put him up in front and was like, all right, I want you all to attack him. Let's see if you survive. Of course, they didn't survive. They all died. And then, to make matters worse, he ends up resurrecting one of them. And he actually has his own thought process and everything. But so the one tribe had a female leader. She never went into the fight. And the main tribe that you're always with had a leader and his brother. Well, in order to gain her loyalty, he knew that she had a thing for the brother. So he tells her, I will resurrect him for you so that way you can have him, but only if you guarantee me that the rest of these lizard men are going to be under my control. And if any one of them tries to rise up, you're going to be the first one to let me know. I'm like, wow, all right. I mean, that's, I guess, good business practice and everything, but that's pretty, and he did too. He resurrected it. And they swear loyalty to him. But I was like, wow, man. I mean, that's a decision. Holy crap. How you handled that and everything. And then I like how in the second part of that you get to see more about the butler. He's freaking strong as hell. Like they had some of their strongest people. I mean, I figured, don't get me wrong, the generals, I'm like, okay, they're gonna be strong. But the fact that the butler,
which is the vampire guy, right?
No, he wasn't a vampire.
Oh, okay.
He was the old dude. He was in the very beginning. He's always been like a servant directly to the main character.
Okay.
But he is the main character had sent him out on a mission, and then you kind of get to see more about what entailed with his mission and how he was doing. And he ends up like there's a huge web that ends up getting involved with that, because like he ends up rescuing somebody, and because of the creator that he had, he felt an obligation, because the creator he had was kind of a hero-ish type. So if someone was in trouble, he would, no matter if it was a good guy or a bad guy, he'd always come to the rescue. Which is how him and the main character met in the first place. You saw that in the first season. But the thing is that like him rescuing that put them in the sights, or him rescuing this woman put them in the sights of this huge underground evil syndicate, because she was a slave and like a brothel, and they didn't want, that's illegal in the city, and they didn't want that to be let known. So then they came after him. He killed them. So then while he was away, after he had made like a negotiation with the main character to keep her and have her work actually at the Citadel, she gets kidnapped. So, but now the main character had sworn under his name that she would be protected, and now she gets kidnapped. So now that just lets loose. He goes and tells his generals, especially that main demon dude. He's like, I want you to find her, I want you to bring her back, and I want you to kill anyone involved, anyone and everyone. I don't care. Anyone involved, they need to die. They need to understand the seriousness of the nature of when I swear that someone will be protected, then they go and kidnap them, how wrong that is.
Mm-hmm.
So he sends out his squad. Well, unbeknownst to him, the queen, or not the queen, like the princess, I guess, had her own plans. She'd been trying to take down the syndicate, and she knew where all the houses, like they're where they were working from, were
Yeah.
undercover. So she sends her own people. So now his people and her people meet in the middle. So now
Mm-hmm.
you have the good guys versus his people going head to head, and that was like a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of his like bug mates ends up getting into a fight with them, and it wasn't until one of the good people's guys came over and did something to the bug lady, like a pestilence thing that caused her to like, you know, take serious damage. And then his demon general steps in, which was a huge. That was like, because I mean there's only like what, he's like the top. He's in the top three.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say he's the strongest, but he's at least top three of all the generals. And the one character that had come in to rescue the other good guys coming in, took one look at him, told both of her companions, "You need to run. You need to go now. That's a monster among monsters. You cannot face him." And they're like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" I'm just like, "I'm gonna buy you time, and then I'm gonna get the hell out of here. I can't face him." I was like, "Damn!" And then like he does this one. They start to run. He cuts off all teleportation, and then uses a Hellfire spell, and they die. Like the two that were running.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was him and this other powerful girl who were facing off against each other. And then she was about to die. And then the main character, dressed in his armor, comes dropping out of the sky because he got hired to find out what this ruckus was going on about. So it's like a third party intervening, and then he comes and drops in. It's like, oh my god, it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. The fighting is always top notch. I love the animation.
Mm-hmm.
The way the story is and the way the main character now is as a character, I just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I still love it. I still enjoy it. I still think it's a must watch for people out there, because it's so diverse and it oozes fantasy out of every pore, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But it just has its moments where I'm just thinking about it and I'm just like, I don't know. There's a shift in between the first season and the second season, and I'm not sure. I'm on the fence whether or not I liked how that shift is.
Okay.
So,
those two powerful people that they showed at the beginning, were they part of the end fights, or?
nope.
So they're just like, hey, here's some people that are cool and they're gonna be coming soon, and then
Yeah, basically. There's still one more episode left, so I don't know if they're just gonna make a random appearance. But I've never seen them from that point on. Never saw them. They've shown a bunch of other people, and they've re-shown other people that you're like, oh yeah, no, I remember them. Oh yeah, I remember that. But at the same time, I'm just like, man, you could have like cut the lizard people's story in like half,
or out.
maybe an episode or two, maybe,
Okay.
just to throw it in there, give you a little more backstory, see how that goes. You could have had like an episode or two of that, but literally well, I guess because the first episode was just so literally there was like 5 episodes of just the lizard people.
Okay.
And I'm just like, oh my god, that could have been easily cut down to like 1 or 2 instead of 5. And then you could have added more stuff in, and then had those other characters show up. It's just anyways, it's cool to see. I like how you're seeing more, because like you never really saw much as far as, other than the vampire lady, the girl, you never really saw the other generals fight and what they could do. And when the main character dropped down, he ends up saying, "Who's my enemy?" And he ends up seeing the situation, and because he's supposed to be the hero, good type, he immediately turns to his general, and they end up fighting. So you kind of see like some more of his abilities and stuff like that, which was kind of cool. But again, it's just like, oh god, the fact that they're going to be ending it in one more episode, I think on Tuesday, for when this airs or whatever. Yeah, I'm just like, really? You're going to either wrap it up super quick, which is going to feel rushed, or you're going to leave it as a cliffhanger for like, oh well, season 3,
Maybe.
maybe. Another couple years, we'll come out with season 3. It's like, oh god,
if we
no,
can if we can recover from this lizard incident.
yeah, God, so wrong. Anyways, again, it's
Okay.
Overlord. It ranks up there in a lot of my series, and it's gonna be one of those where like I'm still gonna watch it because it's Overlord and I enjoy it.
Hmm.
But there's just certain parts of it that I'm just gonna be like, man, kind of left frustrated in a lot of ways.
Okay.
So,
Cool. All right. Well, that is it for the current seasonal stuff. Our final thoughts. Now we're gonna go to an old show, a show that's 9 years old.
woo!
And so the next show we're gonna be talking about is Steins Gate.
And now to prelude this, as far as that goes, you're talking about this because you watched it, and the second season is going to be coming out this next season.
Yes,
So you
Steins Gate
wanted to,
Zero, which is apparently an alternate or alternative telling of the end. Is gonna be it's starting like maybe today. It's starting this current season. That's beginning right now. Um, so yeah, I watched this years and years and years ago, and I went back to revisit it because I really liked it, and I am absolutely glad that I did because this is a very, very good show. Unlike Kokkoku, where there was a time stop story, this is a time traveling story. Um, Basically, the story is you have what is his name? Oh, Okabe Rintaro. Yeah, you have Okabe, which is he calls himself Hohohin Kyoma. So I'm gonna call him Kyoma. You have Kyoma, who is a self-proclaimed mad scientist. He basically is renting this room above a like a hardware. I'm not really sure what it's like a mom and pop tech shop. Like they have CRT TVs because this takes place like 2010, and
mm,
they have like other electronics in the store. They're near Akihabara, which is a basically a like a trendy electronics slash anime town. Um, and yeah, it's like he the story takes place mostly in the apartment that's above that shop. Um, he is always like acting like he's delusional, saying like the organization is after him and he's working in his lab to create these like future gadgets, and some of them are kind of interesting. Like he has this weird like kind of drone thing where it's like it's a camera at the bottom and then
mm.
this like this tube and like it has propellers on the top. So I would assume you throw it and then it kind of like just like spins in air and it shoots video. And when the girl found it, and she was like, "Oh, that's a cool idea," and I'm like, "Yeah, that is kind of cool. It's like a little surveillance thing." But then he said the camera spins along with with the device.
So he hadn't quite
So
worked all the kinks out of it yet.
yeah, so I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. um, so he makes like all these weird gadgets. Some are kind of, like they're interesting in theory, but then the
Mm.
actual trying to make it practical, it doesn't work. And they had this one thing that they were working on at the beginning of the episode called a telephone microwave.
Mm.
I don't know what it was supposed to do, but what they did do with it is they put bananas in it, and the banana would turn into gel. So it'd be like a green jello banana. And it'd kind of be dripping. It's weird and nasty looking.
Yeah, that
And
doesn't sound appetizing at all.
um, they ended up going to this, like basically in 2010, these characters, like some of the, basically the world is researching time travel.
Mm-hmm.
There's one character, the redheaded girl. She is actually a, what do you call that? Like a another word for genius, but prodigy.
Prodigy?
There we go. Yes, yes, she is a prodigy. Her father is one of the leading scientists in that field, and she is actually smarter than him.
Mm-hmm.
His daughter being smarter than him really, really hurts his pride, and he like hates her for that. She just wants to get approval from her dad, so she's trying her hardest to learn as much as she can, and it's kind of counterintuitive where it's like the smarter she gets, the better she does, the more her dad hates her. But she's trying to do that so he can end up being proud with her. So there's really no way to get around that. So when Okabe goes to the little what is it, it's like a presentation or whatever that the father is doing, he ends up coming across her and he finds her stabbed in the hallway.
Ooh.
So he ends up freaking out, and he ends up sending a text to the microwave, and somehow they ends up sending a message. Like they mess with it, and they end up realizing that it kind of their microwave sends stuff into the past. It's not powerful enough to send matter to the past, because like if they try to send matter, it ends up being gel.
Mm-hmm.
But if they can send like text messages.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what he did is he sent a text message to her in the past, and she ends up avoiding getting stabbed.
Gotcha.
He runs across her again, and then he ends up taking her to the lab, and then she ends up, I can't remember exactly like how everybody like comes together, but she ends up joining the lab and becoming a new member, and they explain to her what the phone microwave does, and then she starts coming across all the weird gadgets and everything, and they end up doing some more experiments with it. Through the course of that, they end up changing the present a lot. Like some crazy things happen. Like, and it's really, really cool to kind of like follow how everything happens.
So we're definitely talking about like the butterfly effect, essentially, really.
Yes, it is straight up butterfly effect. Once they get to a certain point, they realize that one of the characters is gonna die, and they try every single variation that they can to stop it, and it's just they kind of use some theories for quantum mechanics, where it's like you know how they said that the quark, it exists everywhere at once, and when you look at it, it's in a fixed spot, but if you're not looking at it, it can be in every spot all at the same time. They kind of do that with like world lines, where it's like on this path, like on I guess there's like different fates, where it's like if you're on this line, this happens. If you're on this line, that doesn't happen, but something else does.
Yeah.
And if you're on another line, like different things like that. So they go back to that, and they end up realizing that they're on this one line and somebody's gonna die. So they're like, what can we do to change it to where this doesn't happen, because this is our friend. After trying so hard, they end up realizing that they basically have to undo everything that they've been doing this entire series to get back to the original world line. And it's a very, very good like journey, because the setting completely changes. Like, in one way, they're in this kind of moe land where it's like anime, manga, electronics, all the crazy like trendy things, and then after a certain event, it goes back to where it was like before their time. It's just an electronic city. And you kind of like the whole setting, like it built, like certain things are still in the same place, but the whole vibe of the city completely changes. And it's like, it's one show where it's like, it's really cool to see the setting change that much, and then it kind of works itself back to the present, and then more issues come up, and I'm kind of curious, like, what else are they gonna do with it? Like, when we go into Steins Gate Zero, because it was an incredible journey that I went through over the last like 3 weeks. I'm like, from the synopsis, I'm like, we kind of ended on a happy note, and with what the synopsis described is like if that didn't happen, and I'm like,
Yeah, because it talks about struggling to recover from a failed attempt at rescuing Cariso.
yeah. So they're like, what? But everything's good now. So I'm kind of curious. What do they mean? Like, is there a certain point in the series where they're gonna stop and whatever happened like that failed, and then we're gonna go on a different journey? I don't really know where they're gonna go with it. Depending on how they pull it off, I'm worried that I will like dislike this second series and like feel like they shouldn't have touched it, because right now that show's a 10 out of 10, and I don't see what else they could do with it. But yeah, I would say I don't know if it's available for streaming anywhere, but I know Funimation has it, and it was a very, very good series. It's 26 episodes, so it's the type of show where they develop the characters a lot, and because the story is it's time travel and character development. So the characters have to be good because you spend that much time with them. You either are really, really, really gonna love them, or you're really, really, really gonna hate them. So yeah, I'll definitely recommend this show to everybody. That is it for our 8 shows and final thoughts for the winter season of the shows that we finished. We will be back in a month, like 4 weeks, to talk about our first impressions of this new season that just started today.
Actually, none of them actually started today. I was looking up any chart.
When is the first show?
Like in sometime tomorrow, because I think 17 hours was like the closest I saw for any of them.
Okay, so yeah, start from the second on. Okay.
Yeah, it starts from the second on. One of them is not going to be airing for another 47 days.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap. Most of them are like a day and some hours, a couple more days. I think another one's like 9 days. That was like the longest one I saw was like 47 days away.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the shows they usually won't start for like the first 3 weeks or so, because it could be anywhere from like if you're talking about one core could be anywhere from 10 to 13 episodes, and maybe a couple episodes past. But like the regular, like the normal way it goes is like 10 to 13. So if it starts on week 3, then that would make sense for it to end right at the end of the season. But
yeah, but some of them end a little bit early, and I mean a lot of them I'm seeing are like 12 episodes and stuff like that.
Yeah. So.
Oh well, no wonder why that one's gonna be 47 days away. It only has 7 episodes.
That makes sense.
They cut that one down a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like Fooly Cooley length. I think Fooly Cooley was like 6.
Huh, weird. Alright.
But yep, so whew, I have some time to catch up on some stuff.
A little bit of time.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah. This was monthly catch up number 13. Winter 2018 anime final thoughts.
Monthly catch up. Which one?
37. Wait.
You said 13. So I was like, wait, what? Have we traveled? Have we done a Steins Gate and traveled back in time?
Yeah. Yeah, we will be back in a month. So today's been Big D and Shave from TacoYaki Anime, and we will see y'all next time. Bye.
Maybe that's why. Maybe because they're trying to do April Fools on you. That's where it comes from. That's why. They're like, haha, no.
Nah, I have such a love-hate relationship with this anime. I really, really do. It is interesting and entertaining, and the main